and intriguing way of handling it, but I think he's got the marching orders on what they want him to say. But Joe Jackson,
and then we wait and see whether he follows them.
Yeah.
And speaking of marching orders, that is the man who led the Jackson 5 into fame as a result of making Michael Jackson the king of pop. You see them in a Rolls Royce, I believe that's a Phantom. That has to be a $500,000 car, escorting the family there. This is an opulent funeral service, one that this family feels is befitting of the man who called himself the king of pop, and I think many people will say he lived up to his claim.
Cameron, I'm impressed with your ability to identify what kind of Rolls Royce that is.
I'm from
That's
Texas.
impressive.
We know our cars. We know our cars in this one.
Chris Jansing is standing by at the Staples Center. And Chris, I wonder if people there have any sort of monitors or way of seeing what we're all seeing across the country and around the world as far as what's happening at Forest Lawn. I mean, do they have in real time the opportunity to keep up with this processional?
No, they don't. They're down there just really waiting, and we see a police presence. Well, they just opened the door. That's the first door that I've seen open, and I'm sitting here with Teray. We've been keeping track of whether or not they're letting people inside. But one of the things they said very specifically is that they weren't going to put any coverage up on the screens here, and for a very good reason, which is security. They didn't want people trying to get through security without a wristband because they thought that somehow they could watch what was going on. I mean, there are big screen LCD TVs down here. If you ever come down to the Nokia or the Staples, you know, you're used to seeing them. They do have images of Michael Jackson up there, but the people who are here, except those who, you know, may be connected through their phone or Twitter or hearing it from sort of people on the outside, are not seeing any of these images. And you see on your right the big crowd that is gathered here at the Staples Center. And Teray, there had been a lot of back and forth about what was going on in the family and who was making the decisions. But I think it would be fair to say that whatever disagreements they had, everyone had in mind very clearly Michael Jackson's role as a pop icon, and that they wanted to do that justice.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of division in the family. Catherine is a Jehovah's Witness, but Jermaine is a Muslim. And I'm told by close sources that Michael converted to Muslim toward the end of his life. You know, perhaps not confirmed by the Nation of Islam, but was starting that journey. So, I mean, there must have been a lot of discussion within the family about how do we do this the way Michael would have wanted. We're not sure, but, you know, it seems to be very somber. You know, I mean, I see both those things here. I see people being somber, and I see people also being celebratory. I see people dressed in all black, and I see people dressed in ways that are specifically recalling Michael Jackson, the hats, the armbands, some of the colors, the red and the black that he liked to use.
Michael Jackson T-shirts,
Yep.
and then you do recognize that there are people here who are dressed as if there was a member of their own family and they were going to a memorial
we've
service.
known him so long in all of our lives that he's got to seem like a member of the family. I mean, celebrities become that in your life, but Michael Jackson's been a huge celebrity for 40 years. I mean, I remember watching his Saturday morning cartoon show as a little boy, you know, and then, you know, going to parties and listening to Off the Wall and Thriller, you know, and then later on, the later music. So, I mean, you know, he's been part of our lives for so long, and the chair's been snatched out from under us. You know, I mean, this is so sudden, as opposed to Farrah Fawcett, another recent death, which we kind of saw coming because she was sick for several days. Michael just suddenly gone. You know, it's a shock to the system, and we're still processing it, even though we've had those 12 days to deal.
Yeah, Tamron, let me go back to you. We're seeing now some of the activity.
Right.
I think that, you know, we're waiting to see who beyond the family will be at this very close private memorial service at Forest Lawn.
Yeah, and Chris, we see a number of people. Originally, I mean, when you say private, I certainly thought just the family, but we've seen quite a few people getting out of these vehicles. And what do you know will happen at this private ceremony? What have you been able to learn about it?
Yeah, they've been keeping this very close to the vest, and you can understand that Michael Jackson lived so much of his life, virtually his entire life, in the public eye, for good and for bad. The family has been heartened, we are told by people close to the family, by the tremendous outpouring of love and attention that he's been getting. But you also heard from the Reverend Jesse Jackson, and you've heard it from the Reverend Al Sharpton, their concerns about some of the negative things that have been talked about Michael Jackson. I think that they wanted to some extent to keep this little piece of it private for them because they are a family.
And I think also there's a lot of moving parts for them. I mean, this is a long time to plan a memorial, a funeral, but still there's a lot of moving parts. As we were talking yesterday, we're still not clear if he's going to be buried at Forest Lawn. You know, there's still discussion between the mortuary and the family if he'll be interred there or perhaps somewhere else. So, you know, there's just so much of an ongoing dynamic situation for the family trying to figure it out. Sometimes perhaps it's family misinformation to throw off the media and the fans, but I think they're probably still trying to figure out which way do we go, what do we do, how do we handle all these decisions.
Well, Teray, and that's a great point because
were made very late. Let's go. I was going to say Michael Oku. I think they have Michael Oku up now, who is at Forest Lawn. Michael, what can you tell us from there?
Well, I can tell you that all the vehicles are here now. Just before they came, Chris, about 30 unmarked police vehicles and some marked ones arrived here on the scene. There were various motorcyclists, police officers who arrived here, and California Highway Patrol. And then we saw that procession arrive. There were at least about 30 cars. The first 4 of them, we believe, were either Bentleys or Rolls Royces, black. We understand that there were at least a dozen other vehicles that looked like they contained members of the Jackson family. It was hard to get a real clear look inside, so we couldn't really make out the individuals. But I can tell you that the procession is now inside the property here at Forest Lawn. There's still some helicopters overhead. We understand that staffers here at Chris have been told not to come to work, not to report here till 10 o'clock this morning. So we assume they arrived here a little bit after 8, that this is going to go on for the next couple hours or so. And the big question, of course, is going to be what is happening with Michael Jackson's body. Is he actually being buried here? There have been all kinds of rumors and speculation, as you well know, that Michael Jackson might in fact be buried at some other cemetery altogether, that he may very well be cremated and have his ashes spread over his beloved Neverland. All of these issues are, I suppose, questions that we may have answered in the coming days or so. But for the immediate day, the big question is whether Michael Jackson's body, his casket, will emerge from Forest Lawn ceremony, the cemetery, with his family. We're told that the Jacksons will leave the cemetery right after the services here, which we can confirm will be a closed casket ceremony, and make their way over to downtown Los Angeles and the Staples Center. Will Michael Jackson's casket be with them so that those thousands of fans who have descended on the Staples Center, certainly the ones who have gotten tickets to go inside, can say their last goodbyes there? That's a question we're hoping to have answered, obviously, in the next couple hours, Chris.
Yes, Michael, thank you very much. We have been in contact, by the way, with the LAPD. They tell us they are prepared for the body to be returned here to the Staples Center. But again, a lot of these decisions have been made at the last minute, and people have changed their minds. I need to go over to Zach Moss. He's a DJ from Las Vegas.
From Chicago. I'm living in Las Vegas for the summer.
And you actually got one of the armbands. I see it. Tell me, I mean, particularly as somebody whose life is involved with music as a DJ, why you wanted to be here, what Michael Jackson means to you.
You know, being a DJ and being in the music industry, and I'm only 21, so I was born in '88, way after Thriller and all the good stuff. And honestly, the first time I ever heard Michael Jackson was like probably on the Back to the Future movie. But you know, being an artist or being a DJ and on the club scene and playing his music, there's no better like gratification, especially after he passed away. I've played a 45-minute set of straight Michael Jackson songs, and especially in Vegas where it's very touristy, there's everyone from all over the country or the world, and they're coming together and they're cheering for Michael, similar to what's happening today, and they're shouting Michael, Michael, and if I did that 3 weeks ago, it's different. They would walk off. I can play maybe 2 or 3 songs, definitely not back to back. But to play a 30 to 45 minute set of Michael Jackson songs and to have that crowd reaction is
I want to ask you about your generation, because those of us who sort of grew up with Michael Jackson, and as you say, I remember sitting at home and waiting for the Thriller video to be debuted for the first time. Do you see that he's having a renaissance? Are people being exposed to him, maybe even for the first time, and finding an appreciation for his music?
You know what? I really do. I think so, because even right when he passed away, and all the radio stations right away started playing Michael Jackson, and MTV for the first time, and who knows how long, actually played music videos and played Michael